Hello, hockey fans! Welcome back into the Neutral Zone on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. It's Boxing Day. In the hockey world, that means it's time for the World Juniors. The IIAHF World Juniors Championship has returned to its proper place and time in the calendar and is being held in Sweden this year. We will check in on that. Is the U.S. ready to retake the gold medal after a somewhat disappointing bronze medal finish a year ago? Or is Canada going to win its 21st gold medal? Or is one of the other countries going to sneak in and surprise somebody? We will talk about that. We will break that all down. We've also, of course, got all updates from across the NHL in the last week. And there's a handshake controversy in Canada? What? All that plus more for you on another crazy edition of the Neutral Zone. Who knows what else we'll talk about over the next 56 minutes or so. Some of it might not even be hockey. So let's light the lamp. Let's get over those boards. Pass the puck. Protect the 5-hole. And, of course, let's stay out of the penalty box. Let's go. And once again, hello and good evening, everyone. I am Adam Karnick. Zach Puplis is along with us as well. Hope you had a wonderful Christmas yesterday and are enjoying whatever today has for you. If you worked, I hope it was as unstressful of a day at work as possible. If you were home, hopefully you're able to relax and kick back a little bit and enjoy. I got to spend the day at home with the kids. So it was a little bit of everything all wrapped into one giant, wonderful package. How are you doing, Zach? How was your Christmas?
I'm great. I had a good Christmas with the family. I worked today, but it wasn't too bad. Got out pretty close to on time. So, yeah.
Well, that's always good when you're able to actually get out at closing time for work. That always helps.
Right.
Always makes the day so much easier when that happens and you're not having to stick around for 20 minutes to a half hour or something like that.
Oh, it was 20 minutes to half an hour, but that's pretty decent actually.
Okay. That's good then. Yeah. Oh man. Well, yeah, I guess it's all relative, isn't it? You know, when we get into the fall, oh my gosh, I just assume that I'm not going to get out of luck any earlier than an hour after close. So,
right.
Well, before we go any further, of course, we do want to acknowledge our sponsor here at the network, this show and all the other shows on IE Sports Radio. That would be Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky. Planet Jerky is the official jerky of the 2022 California League champion Lake Elsinore Storm, the single-A affiliate of the San Diego Padres. This all-brisket jerky has gluten-free options, contains no MSG, no sodium nitrate, is low in sugar, and high in protein. This is some of the best jerky you can get your hands on. Go to planetjerky.net to place your order. They still are offering free shipping on all orders of $50 and above. Anything and everything for your taste buds, from the volcanic jalapeno, Carolina Reaper, down to your more savory classic BBQ style. It is very, very pricey jerky and very tasty jerky. Well priced and tasty for you. Huge shout out to our sponsor, Planet Jerky, the premium brisket beef jerky. That's on a whole other planet. For the last 9, nearly 10 years now, IE Sports Radio has brought you amazing content ranging from interviewing legendary athletes, coaches, and other authorized media personnel to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports cities around the country. Be sure to follow us at IE Sports Radio on X, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok to keep up with the latest in sports and with our shows. Also, check out our daily updated website, iesportsradio.com, for the sports news, the IE Sports Radio blog. Mike Pat just put out a fresh one of those here recently involving the NBA. Our fans of the month, the Hall of Fame, which is currently taking votes right now. They are down to the finalists. There are 8 finalists. They're going to take the top 4 vote getters from those final 8 into the new class of the Hall of Fame. And, of course, pages dedicated to each of the shows and the IE Sports Radio Community Forum. And stop by the shop and check out the merchandise. Thank you for making IE Sports Radio your direct feed for all that is sports. So, Zach, how many games we got on the docket? Let's start nationally. Let's start with the NHL tonight. How many games we got on the docket? What games are you keeping an eye on among the crowd tonight?
Would you believe that the number is 0?
Oh, that's right. Christmas. Duh. I knew that.
Yeah, I looked at it myself. I was like, okay, sweet. We got a nice docket tonight. And then I went to go look at it again, and I'm like, hang on. These games should have started at 7 p.m. Why am I not seeing scores? Oh, they don't start till tomorrow.
Yes, they're all tomorrow. I did the same thing where it was, oh, yeah, games. Nope. They're all the next day.
JK, LOL.
Yep. Oh, well. So no games on the docket tonight, but I know you've been excited about your Red Wings lately, as you always are about your Red Wings.
Right.
So what have you been what's got you excited this week?
Well, they're up against the Wild tomorrow. Some other games that look good: Panthers and Lightning. Let's see here: Rangers and Capitals. Penguins and the Islanders. Avalanche and the surprisingly successful Coyotes currently.
Yeah, it's still one of the most surprising teams in the league.
Yeah. Golden Knights at Terran's Ducks. What else? And the Kraken and Flames.
So a decent little slate lined up for themselves coming up, and they find themselves at this point. They're still on the outside looking in, but they're not, they're in 5th. They're only 4 points back of Florida.
Yeah, we talked 3 weeks ago, whenever, about them being on a hot streak. And then I think it was last week they were on a losing streak. Well, they haven't really gotten off of the schneid. They have lost, 5 of their last 6. The one bright spot being a shootout over Philadelphia, 7-6. That was on Friday. But yeah, having lost Anaheim and Winnipeg and then New Jersey over the weekend. So back at it against Minnesota tomorrow. Homestand against Nashville on Friday and homestand against Boston on Sunday. So maybe a chance to turn it around a little.
Maybe. And before the league went into the break, we did have on Saturday, we had a Stanley Cup rematch. We had Vegas down in Florida taking on the Panthers. Now, Vegas, of course, had gotten off to that insane start to the season where they were just beating everybody hand over foot. But they've cooled off a little bit. How did things go on Saturday?
Looks like the Panthers got their revenge by topping the Golden Knights 4-2 on Saturday. Behind power play goals from Carter Verhaeghe and Sam Reinhart. Just just under 2 minutes apart in the third period, looks like.
That'll do it. Yeah, giving up 2 quick goals like that in the third period will do it for you. So Florida survives its rematch, but still, look at some of the team stats in that game. Florida should have won that game. You look at some of the stats. Outshot Vegas 42-25. Look at the power plays in that one real quick. Vegas 0 for 2. All right. That'll happen on some nights. Look how many power play opportunities Florida had. 6.
Ooh.
They were 2 for 6 on the power play.
Wow.
Vegas had 10 penalties in the game.
That's wild.
That is a ton. That is, you are not going to, first of all, you're not going to have very many games where you commit that many penalties. And you are almost certainly never going to win a game where you commit that many penalties.
Yeah, it says the Panthers came out flying, taking 15 of the game's first 16 shots.
Yeah. It was definitely, they wanted revenge. I think this game meant more to Florida probably than it did to Vegas.
Oh yeah. Well, it's a measuring stick game. Like, okay, are we back to that same level we were back in June? Like,
yeah. And Vegas was at the very tail end of an East Coast trip. This was their third game of 3 on an East Coast trip. They had been in Carolina and Tampa Bay before, and so now you're further down into Miami. Vegas 0-3, no points on that trip either. So they were tired. They're once again without Aiden Hill.
Yep.
And yeah, when you're immediately facing 15 shots and the game is basically just started.
Yeah, it says adding the shot attempts that missed the net or blocked in the first 15 minutes. And Florida had 29 of the game's first 30 tries.
Jeez. Yeah, that will make it tough. Hello to everybody in the chat, by the way. Jen B, Tan Rodriguez, and It's Drewski all in the chat with us tonight. Good evening. Jen is excited because the Blue Jackets are getting ready to put another touchdown up on the Sabres tomorrow evening. The Anaheim Ducks will be facing the Vegas Golden Knights next, so we've got that. And Drewski being in here, the host of The Heart of Texas, we've got to talk about the Stars a little bit. Did you see how the Stars went into the Christmas break on Saturday?
I heard it was pretty similar to the one we were just talking about, like a flurry of goals in just a couple minutes.
A couple of minutes. Try a couple of seconds.
Oh, it was 13 seconds.
Yeah, 2 goals in the final 13 seconds of the game.
Boy.
Craig Smith and Yanni Hakanapa. And I absolutely... Let me try Yanni's last name again because I got that very wrong. Hakanpa.
Hakanpa, yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I threw an extra A in there. But yeah, 13 seconds. They went from trailing 2-1 to winning 3-2, just like that.
Wow.
Those are simultaneously. I mean, as in anything with sports, it depends on what side you're on. If you're Dallas, if you're Texas, and that happens, if you're the Stars and that happened, oh man, that's as exciting as it gets. There's no cooler feeling than that. If you're Nashville, it doesn't get much lower than that. Literally, all you had to do was maintain a lead for 13 seconds, and you couldn't do it.
Yeah. Nashville coach Andrew Brunette says, "We were kind of hanging on down the stretch. It's disappointing, especially given up that last one. That one hurt, but learning experience. I thought we did some things late that we can take and go on.
That's the first time in NHL history that a team scored the tying and go-ahead goal in the final 15 seconds of regulation in NHL history. That's crazy.
Wow.
You know, that's some of the that's and especially going into an extended break like that could really hurt you if you're Nashville. That one stings, and you don't get to just turn around and 2 or 3 nights later, okay, well, let's play again. No, you got to sit on this one now all the way from Saturday clear through to Wednesday.
Yeah, you don't have a get-right game immediately.
Right, exactly. So, and actually, they don't even have a game on Wednesday. They don't play again. When do the Predators? The game on Friday against the Red Wings is the next time they take the ice.
They do have one Wednesday. It's
they do
Nashville and Carolina.
There we go. Yeah, okay, yeah, against the Hurricanes. So they at least have that tomorrow. Otherwise, yeah, you're sitting on that for almost a week.
Yeah. Dallas coach Peter DeBoer says in very March Madness buzzer beater fashion, quote, "That's the great part about hockey. You're never out of it till the buzzer goes." End quote.
It's the great part about sports. It has nothing to do with hockey. That's just sports in general. Drewski pointing out the Stars are putting themselves in good position. Yeah, they're 5-0-1 in their last. You know, the opposite there of the Predators. What a way to go into the break. If you're Dallas, you know, you have that kind of a win. You're feeling great. You get a little Christmas miracle, and you now have 11 points in your last 6 games out of a possible 12 points. You've got 11 standings points. You're still tied with Colorado, you know, top of the Central Division. That's as good as it gets right there for Dallas. You don't get much better than that feeling of just excitement, getting in and sneaking away with a win in that one against your division opponent there.
There's been a robbery.
Exactly. They literally stole one in Nashville and snuck out. But 28-4 overall for the Stars. We talked about this last week a little bit. The Stars are always a team for me that it's like, oh yeah, they're good. I always forget about Dallas when we're talking about who's good in the NHL, who's the teams to be watching for. It always surprises me when I look at the standings and, oh yeah, there's Dallas at the top. Well, I'm not supposed to be surprised. They're supposed to be good. And yet here we are again, you know. The Central's kind of fun. I mean, you've got 1 point separating first from third right now. Dallas, yeah. Colorado, and Winnipeg all in that log jam there. Colorado's got 2 extra games that they've played, though, so Winnipeg and Dallas have got a little bit of an edge on them there in that category.
Well, it'll all even out, right?
Eventually it'll all even out, but
yeah. Well, going back to our surprises from last week, look at the Pacific. Vancouver passed Vegas. They're ahead by 2 points.
Yeah, going on an 0-3-0 road trip will definitely do that to you if you're Vegas. You know, 3 straight games without registering a point, that'll do it. And Vancouver, meanwhile, in that stretch where Vegas was losing, the Canucks got 5 out of a possible 6 points. They beat the Predators and the Sharks, who isn't beating the Sharks, and they lost in overtime to the Stars, but otherwise, you know, man, and that's a man, I'm looking at the Canucks right now. They're on a beautiful little point streak too, because the last time they lost in regulation, you got to go all the way back to the beginning of the month. December 5th is the last time the Canucks didn't at least get 1 point. That's an 8-game point streak, and there's only two losses in there. So that's 14 out of a possible 16 points. Yeah, they've skyrocketed themselves to the top of the division. That's outstanding work by Vancouver. That's a nice little run there for the Canucks.
Mm-hmm.
Who have they got coming up out of the break? And they got Philly coming out of the break. So they've got that coming up here in a couple of days. They actually don't play tomorrow. They wait till Thursday. Then the Senators, that ought to be a straightforward game. And the Blues.
Then they're on the road for like 10 days.
Oh, yeah, that is a long road trip. Yeah,
St.
they
Louis,
go all
New
the way.
Jersey, New York, other New York, Pittsburgh, Buffalo, Columbus Blue Jackets until they're back home against Arizona on the 18th.
Yeah, they're home on January 2nd, and then they're not home again until January 18th. That's a long road trip.
Yeah. No kidding.
Oh, Drewski wants to know who are our favorites in the West as of right now. Zach, you go first.
Well, I mean, I think we have to say Dallas, don't we?
Pandering.
Shameless self-promotion.
Wow. Playing to the crowd early, I say.
Well, I mean, isn't that the answer he wants?
I would imagine so, but
I would, okay, even after an 0-3 road trip, I still wouldn't count Vegas out. And I mean, I guess apparently Vancouver's gonna have something to say about that. Colorado as well, and probably Winnipeg.
Drewski loved
LA.
your answer, by the way.
Good. But yeah, I'd say LA, Vancouver, Vegas, Winnipeg, Colorado, Dallas. What about you?
Colorado, don't sleep on the Avs. Don't sleep on the Avalanche. I know they got a couple games. They've played a couple extra games already at this point. Nathan McKinnon is playing strong. The Avalanche are looking good to me at this point. Don't count them out at this point. Dallas, always it feels to me like a little bit like Toronto, where it's they hit a glass ceiling in the playoffs a little bit. It's not the first round, but it feels kind of like the second round is always a little tough for Dallas. So I'm going to say don't sleep on Colorado. You know, they won the cup here a couple years ago. Obviously Vegas, but right now I'm zeroing in on if it were right now, I'd be zeroing in on the Avalanche. Vegas is in a little bit of a tailspin. They got to figure their goalie thing out again. And I don't trust Vancouver. I've seen that movie. I know how that movie ends. I don't trust Vancouver. The Vancouver, you need to give me a reason to trust you. I'll put it that way.
Fool's gold, huh?
Yes. And as we're sitting here right now, of course, the other elephant in the room, and we both talk about them a lot. As we're sitting here right now, they're nowhere in the they're nowhere in the conversation. But as the calendar flips over, The Oilers are hot.
I had a feeling that's where you're going.
They got a lot of work. That was a deep hole they dug themselves, but by the time we get to April, we know what they can do.
Oh, yeah.
We know what they can do. They still don't have a goalie that I trust worth a darn, though. That's been their problem for 3 years. Get a goalie.
I know, right?
All right, the chat room is buzzing a little bit here. Mike, Pat, and J-Man from Spaced Out Sports, they both jump in here. Now, Jay asks a very serious question here. How y'all grow up playing hockey? It's too damn hot down here, so we don't know where to play in Houston. Well, J-Man, the NHL really tries very hard to appease to everybody. Example one, Arizona. the commissioner's pet project. For me personally, though, street hockey is ever the further I got. You put me on skates, and let's say it's comedic, and I'll leave it at that.
I have trouble walking, let alone skating.
It is one of the things that honestly drew me to hockey in the first place is the whole fact that it's on skates on the ice, because you see world-class professional athletes that still on occasion ice is slippery and they'll just totally the joke is always like, oh man, the blue line came up and tripped him there, where it's just on occasion ice is slippery, man, and you see these guys just go crashing, and it's great. It's one of the things that that draws me to hockey. Is they still have those moments where it's they're human too.
Right. Well, and on a more local level, like, okay, where we live, there weren't any rinks around here. Like it was always travel teams, I think is what I remember, until we actually got a rink or two in our town. And then on top of that, I have some friends that say, oh, Tampa Bay won the cup. Oh, they shouldn't even have a team. It should only be in cold weather climates,
Oh gosh. Oh, the saber rattling over Tampa Bay winning the cup.
Oh yeah, the purists that say, it should only be in Canada and the northern US. Like
Exactly. Speaking of saber rattling and angering old fans, we got to get to this story before we take our break and we start talking about juniors. Zach, we have a handshake controversy in Canada. Explain.
Right? Oh, man. And you thought Canada was the country of niceties and everybody was neighborly to each other. Well, apparently not. From the Associated Press earlier today, the hockey governing body in the Canadian province of Newfoundland and Labrador has banned post-game handshakes in the minor leagues after a string of altercations. Hockey NL, Newfoundland and Labrador, announced the move last week. Gonzo Bennett, chair of Hockey NL's Minor Council Executive Committee, wrote in a memo that the organization has had issues following games that led to suspensions of both players and coaches. Instead of handshakes, officials will now direct teams off the ice after the game, according to the Canadian press. The visiting squad will instead skate by the home team's bench and offer a glove tap or handshake before games. Word of the move surprised players and staff at the World Junior Hockey Championship in Sweden this week, to tie into one of our other topics tonight. Quote, disappointing, said Canada head coach Alan Letang, who played 19 professional seasons in both Europe and North America. Quote, there's a respect and a camaraderie in sports. You can go out and compete hard against someone, but at the end of the game, it's great game, great job. Respect goes both ways. If I was coaching a team and stuff like that happened, you wouldn't put up with it. End quote. Teams of the World Juniors, which feature players 19 years of age or younger, shake hands after every game, and it is a common feature for youth games all the way up to the National Hockey League. The one tipping point, I guess, Canada got into a handshake argument at the 2020 Juniors tournament when Captain Barrett Hayton failed to remove his helmet during Russia's national anthem following a 6-0 loss. Hayton later apologized, adding he was, quote, lost in the moment and meant no disrespect. Sweden coach Magnus Havild was also surprised by the move in Newfoundland and Labrador. Quote, tough to hear it. It's sad. It's important for coaches and young players to say what happens when you play those 60 minutes. That's one thing. But after that, it's finished. It got so bad at one point that authorities in Nova Scotia were called last month, charging a coach who allegedly assaulted a referee during a hockey game involving players as young as 9. Amateur hockey associations across Canada have elected to put green armbands on teenage referees in hopes parents and coaches think twice before hurling verbal abuse.
This whole thing just feels to me like this is the Canadian version of the Little League baseball teams, where just let the kids play and almost don't let the parents watch, is what it feels like to me a little bit. It's
right.
Just parents, go do your shopping. The kids are fine. We'll tell you how it ended later.
Right. That's my kid out there. What are you doing, ref? Come on.
Oh. I mean, you sent me this story, and my immediate reaction was to imitate what I knew would be the internet comment section. How dare they? These kids, you got to teach them respect. They don't. Next, you're going to tell me that they're not going to sing the national anthem. Kids are too soft nowadays. Talk about making a mountain out of a molehill. Okay.
Plus they all get their participation trophies.
Right. You've had some stuff happen. You feel like this is in the best interest for the kids, that, hey, we need to take this back a step. This is getting a little too serious. We're getting into the handshake line, and instead of handshakes, they're throwing fists.
Mm-hmm.
You know, let's back this off, keep the kids safe. Yes, there's life lessons being learned all around. You know, you don't have to shake hands is the only way to teach a lesson, you know?
Exactly. Well, and that's how they wrap up the article. They said, Canada captain Fraser Minton called post-game handshakes a, quote, cool and classy part of hockey. Teammate Owen Allard said he remembers seeing disagreements in hockey handshake lines in the minors. On the flip side of the captain's, argument, I guess. And then lastly, they went back to the coach of Canada. Quote, as coaches, we want to be intense, but as coaches, it's about winning. But it's also about developing kids and teaching them those little life lessons, like you said. You can compete hard, but at the end of the day, respect your opponent and be humble.
And let's face it, if everybody can show they behave, I'm sure the handshake line will come back. It is much ado about nothing.
Yeah.
J-Man took his kids ice skating, and he fell more than they did. I hear you there. Jay. Yep. It's amazing how that works, where it's just, wait a minute. How do they do this? How do they do this on here? All right. We are going to take a quick break, and then when we come back, today is, if you didn't know, today's officially known as Boxing Day, the day after Christmas. What a perfect segue out of a story about fights breaking out in a handshake line. Today is officially known as Boxing Day. Well, in the hockey world, the day after Christmas is officially known as the start of juniors. We will explain what that means on the other side of this break. You are listening to the Neutral Zone here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Hey yo, what's up? It's your man Bishop, the voice of This Is KC Sports, the show where we go over the Chiefs, the Royals, KC Current, Sporting KC, MU, and oh yeah, if we got time, we'll even throw in some of that KU stuff from my people on the 913 South. Come and hang out with us every Sunday, 2 p.m. Central Standard Time on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
What's good, everyone? It's Drewski, the host of Heart of Texas Sports on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. On this station, we cover everything in the Dallas-Fort Worth, Texas area. From where we cover the Dallas Cowboys, the Dallas Stars, Dallas Mavericks, Dallas Wings, Texas Rangers, TCU, SMU, we cover it all right here every Wednesdays from 9 to 10 p.m. Central Time. Make sure you stay live with me on the Heart of Texas Sports on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Hello, ladies and sinners. Hello, sports fans around the world. Hello, IE Sports family. This is Cale Henderson, the host of IE Vegas, the Sin City Sports Show, presented by IE Sports Radio. If you folks are interested in sports in the Vegas area, if you're wanting to have a blast for 1 hour, every Tuesday night from 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time to 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, this is a show built for the Vegas sports fans, where we feature the Las Vegas Raiders, the Las Vegas Golden Knights, the Las Vegas Aces, and the University of Las Vegas, Nevada Rebels. Hopefully, fingers crossed, MLB team coming soon. Either way, if you folks are looking to have a blast for 1 hour each and every week, tune in Tuesday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time to 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. If you folks are interested in Vegas sports news, go to our Twitter, at SinCities_IESR, and you can speak with me, the host, Cale Henderson, at Cale_Henderson on Twitter. At any time, be happy to reply. Always want to reach out to our fans. Again, the Sin City Sports Show, presented by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
And welcome back into the Neutral Zone here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports, presented by Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky. Check them out, planetjerky.net, the jerky that's on a whole other planet. So, I mentioned before the break, Adam Karnick and Zach Puplis here along with you for about another 19 minutes or so. I mentioned before the break that for the hockey world, the day after Christmas is known as Junior's Day. What in the am I talking about? For those of you that aren't familiar with hockey, we know one of the things we love doing on this show is try to make hockey as open and as accessible and available as possible. So the World Junior Championships, this is part of the International Ice Hockey Federation. Think of it as similar to like a World Cup event that soccer does. This is kind of a hockey equivalent of that. These are all nations sending their best kids. Everybody playing in this tournament is under the age of 20. 19 years or younger. Some of them are already drafted by the NHL. Some of them are currently playing in colleges here in the United States. Some of them are playing in their professional leagues abroad, like in the host country of Sweden or in Latvia or Switzerland. Some of them are from the U.S. National Development Team, but they're all under 20. That's the important part of this tournament, and they get together every year and get to show off their skills and put out a wonderful tournament. And it starts today. It's always 10 nations broken up into 2 groups of 5. They start off with group play and then get into in the next week they will be in knockout rounds, and then we have the elimination tournament from there. Last year was a bit of a disappointment for the U.S. as we just took bronze. I would say coming into this year's tournament, the U.S., I'd be very disappointed this year if the U.S. does not at least make it to the gold medal game. The U.S. has a very strong team. 7 of the players on their team have already been drafted by NHL teams already, so there's a lot of already recognized talent on the U.S. team. I don't think anybody else, I think I was seeing in this field, nobody else has more than 2 players that have already been drafted into the NHL. So the U.S. team should do well. U.S. had its first game. The tournament itself this year is being held in Sweden as we joking refer to Sweden here on this show as the Detroit Red Wings alternative training facility, as they constantly are bringing players over from Sweden. The U.S. played earlier today and took out Norway in the first of their round-robin matches. They will play Czechoslovakia, they will play Switzerland, and they will also play Slovakia out of this group. And, of course, the other nation that is expected to always do well in this tournament is Canada. You know, they're the defending champs. They've won this thing 20 times before, and they've got a young man who is in consideration for the number 1 overall pick in the NHL draft coming up here in this coming summer on their team. So the Canadians should do well again. What are your expectations coming into this, Zach?
Yeah, I would definitely say, Canada and the U.S. seem like big players. I'm surprised there's only 10 nations that are part of it. Why only 10?
Well, and it's fun. They actually have, if you want to really get into the nitty-gritty, there's actually 3 divisions in this. So there's 10 in Division 1, but just like in English soccer, you can get relegated, bumped down the leagues.
Oh, sure.
In IIHF hockey, you can get bumped down to Division 2 or bumped down to Division 3. And likewise, you can work your way up. So every year, there's always a nation that will get bumped up into Division 1 to find themselves in a new seat, as it were. So part of the reason there's only 10 is because you have some in Division 2 and some in Division 3.
Okay, gotcha. Well, and here's Group A: Canada, Sweden, Finland, Germany, Latvia. Group B: Czechia, United States, Slovakia, Switzerland, Norway.
I would totally expect Canada to come out of that as the best team of that group.
And probably the U.S. The second group.
I would certainly hope so. They're a darn strong team in the U.S. this year.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Oh, 10. I shortchanged us. The United States roster has 10 first-round picks in it.
Ooh.
From recent NHL drafts.
Wow.
The 10 are Cutter Gauther, who was taken 5th overall by the Flyers in 22. Rutger McGority, who was 14th overall in 22 to the Jets. Sam Rinzel, 25th overall in 22 to the Blackhawks. Let's see. Oh, those are just the 3 that ESPN listed. Sorry, I don't have the other 7 immediately in front of me. But, you only have a handful of guys on other teams with that draft pedigree. So there is some strong, strong pedigree. And they've got arguably the best goaltender, Trey Augustine. You should know him. He was a recent draft pick of the Wings this past year. So,
he was. I think I remember his name on our mock draft.
Yeah, he was one of those guys that we accidentally got right when we picked.
Right.
Hey, look at that.
Baby steps. We'll be better at this year.
Hey, I got anything besides Bedard right in the first pick. I was sold. Nowhere else to go but up.
Anything else was icing on the cake.
Exactly.
Well, you talk about all the different players that U.S. has that have already been drafted by the pro teams. Like this talks about those 3 you mentioned, and they said they're 3 of the 7 returning players the U.S. has on board, compared to just 1 returnee for defending champion Canada.
Yeah, but Canada does have, just like they had Bedard in this thing last year. Connor Bedard, who at the time was just 17. Canada does have another 17-year-old phenom forward, Macklin Celebrini, who is now going to be putting on his shows for display to try to be the number 1 overall pick. So It's not like Canada doesn't have high-end talent. They just don't quite have the depth that they have had in years past.
Celebrating his first World Junior Championship experience, he's already created some drama. He was ejected from Canada's pre-tournament game against Switzerland on Friday for checking forward Leo Breliard into the boards from behind.
Did you see the video of that?
No, I didn't.
All right.
Questionable?
So no. Oh, he earned it.
Okay.
You know how sometimes, like, boarding is one of those where it's okay. If a guy gets checked into the boards, that's one thing. If you're, a couple feet off the boards and you wind up in the boards, that's another thing. He was 5 or 6 feet away from the board and got just blasted into it. It was absolutely every bit of a 5-minute game misconduct penalty.
Wow.
He earned it. He absolutely earned it.
This is, dangerous hit aside, Celebrini's overall potential will be monitored closely as Canada rolls through the tournament. While he might not be on Bedard's level, Celebrini is a dynamic, fast-paced player in his own right, with goal-scoring and playmaking ability.
So it's a for those who like to, if you love Olympic style tournaments or World Cup style tournaments, World Juniors is a ton of fun. You will notice, if all you've ever watched is an NHL game, you will notice it looks a little different. The rink is a little bit different size, and it's not quite the physical game of the NHL, but it is a ton of fun. I mean, you're watching teenagers who are way too good for their own good at the sport, and just some of them playing with their hair on fire, and it is a ton of fun. It's a great tournament. It has already started over in Sweden. The U.S. has won its first game. Sweden has won its first, as has Canada won its first. We still have Germany and Switzerland have yet to play, but then everybody will have played one round. We'll have the round robin stage of this goes through the end of this year, and then you start having the knockout round after New Year's, starting on January 2nd. Next week, they will start the knockout tournament, and I believe the championship will be on January 4th or 5th, I believe, is the championship match for the World Junior. So something we'll be keeping our eye on as we progress through here on Neutral Zone.
Sure. Oh, hey, question before we get off that. So they talk about Sweden being the host country, and it says, yes, the always competitive and frequently baffling host country. So I know in the most recent Olympics, we were talking about how China got a bid because they were the host country, but yet they weren't necessarily the same level of competition as everybody else. So is that the same for this? The host country gets a bid, even if they're not necessarily up to everybody else's level of competition?
Oh, no. Sweden is absolutely belongs in the tournament. It's not that. Leo Carlsson, the Ducks' first-round pick was from Sweden and played with the Swedish team, played in this tournament a year ago. They are definitely deserving. The reason they are baffling is they are wildly inconsistent. They will one match, they will look like world beaters. Then they'll play somebody like Latvia or a nation that they should have absolutely no trouble with, and they'll fall on their face.
Gotcha.
So they are very inconsistent. As in the chat room, Jen and J-Man are having a fun conversation. J-Man, being in Houston, the NHL doesn't have a team in Houston, so J-Man is now officially adopting the Columbus Blue Jackets as his team. Houston does have a minor league. They do have an AHL team, though, I think. Now I'm frantically Google searching here. Yes, the Austin. Let's try that again, shall we? The Houston Arrows. There we go. I knew I could get that out eventually. Let's see. Well, they moved. That's right. The Arrows moved. That's right. So who does Houston have now? Because they have somebody.
They do have. There are the Texas Stars around Austin, the Dallas farm team.
Oh, that's okay. That's right.
What else? Texas Stars of the AHL.
And University of Houston has club hockey, which that's a whole other can of worms, kettle of fish, whatever you want to use to describe it there when you're talking about club hockey. But
right.
It's a bit like beer league, which is also fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the Texas Stars of the AHL, yeah, they feed into the Dallas Stars a little bit, but that would mean for J-Man that he'd have to kind of sorta somewhat root for Dallas, and I know that asking Houston to root for Dallas can sometimes be a tall asking.
Yeah, true.
a tall ask, as it were.
Yeah, I'm looking at AHL, and I think the closest would be the Texas Stars.
Yeah, the Texas Stars. That would be it. But there is a local option available to you, J-Man. Not that I want to discourage you from rooting for the Blue Jackets. They are certainly going to be an up and coming team for a little bit. But I think that is going to do it for us tonight, though. I think we are ready to light the lamp and sound the horn on this.
Woo!
Wrong music. There. That's better. There we go. There's the horn. That does it for this particular episode of The Neutral Zone. You never know where you're going to wind up when you're on this show. We talk hockey. Sometimes we talk teams that don't exist. Sometimes we play music for wrong shows. It's an amazing cultural experience that we do here. For IE Sports Radio, we are the Neutral Zone. Some thank yous, of course, once again to our sponsor, Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky, planetjerky.net. Find them there. They still offer free shipping on all orders of $50 or more. You will find something for your taste buds that will work there if you like and appreciate. Thank you to Larry B., the founder and head honcho here at IE Sports Radio, for all the work that he does behind the scenes. Thank you, sir. Thank you to everybody for hopping into the chat room, keeping that buzzing tonight. Drewski, Jen, J-Man, Mike Peck, Taryn Rodriguez. Thank you, everybody, for hanging out and spending some time talking some hockey with us. Jen, glad we could kind of explain the World Juniors to you a little bit. It is a fun tournament that we get to just dive into now that news is here. Next week, the NHL will be back. We will be dissecting all our teams. J-Man, well, Zach's team is the Detroit Red Wings. I am a recovering Chicago Blackhawks fan. I'm doing better now that we have the guard, and now that we're no longer having lots of off-ice trouble. I'll just leave it at that. Red Wings and Blackhawks are from where we hail in the Midwest, but we have all kinds of fun talking hockey here on the show. We will be talking NHL next week. We'll be catching up on the World Juniors. We will see what other strange controversies are popping up in the hockey world. In hockey, you suppose instead of get off my lawn, would it be get off my ice, Zach?
I think so.
All right. Until next time, he's Zach Pumplis. I am Adam Carnick. Thank you for hanging out with us. Until next time, light the lamp, stay out of the penny box, and be sure to protect the 5-hole. We will see you next week.